Hello, my name is Mary Jo Faustian. Welcome to our monthly webinar series. This time we will be talking about resilience and how to build it, how to work through adversity in your life. And let's have some fun as we explore the different concepts. Our objectives today will be to define resilience, even though sometimes it's very difficult to define it. It has many themes and variables and even some barriers to resilience. And we'll be talking about the whole journey of resilience, which can be very different and unique for all of us. And I love this little plant who seems to be resilient in finding its way up through the soil into a crack in what looks like a rock. If it can find resilience, we can too. So let's look at how we can look at the different variables. One is brain chemistry. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just take something like a pill or a supplement that would tweak our brain chemistry so that we could be resilient no matter whatever happened? But as we will be talking about, there will be several different ways, lots of different ways actually, which we can tweak our brain chemistry. And it's very interesting as we work through that to see what you can do with your own brain and with your own mind, with your own will. And so let's look at some famous people and see how they did it. One would be Michael Phelps, an Olympian that has won 23 gold medals, 28 in all in 5 different Olympics. And yet it hasn't always been easy for him. At the age of 7, even though he was trying to swim, he didn't want to put his face into water. He was afraid of putting his face into water. By the age of 15, however, he was the youngest male swimmer to be able to join the U.S. Olympic team in 68 years. How did he do it? Well, he went through a number of problems with depression in his years too, and he had to battle that. He had to work through that. And so he found that he needed at one point to check himself into a treatment facility, work through his depression and his suicidal thoughts, and even look at the divorce from his parents when he was 9 years old. And so he came back to be in the 2016 Olympics. He came back. What did he do? Let's look at another Olympian. Here's Lola Jones. You may not have ever heard of her because she's never won a medal yet. She's been to the Olympics 3 times. In the Beijing 28 Summer Olympics, she was favored to win gold, but on the 9th hurdle, her leg hit the hurdle and she came actually in 7th place. And she says here, I felt so powerful, so fast, and then there I was pounding my fist on the track. I didn't even have enough energy to get up and walk off because I felt so gutted. I went back to my room, cried, I read my Bible, and just thanked God for the opportunity to run. Opportunity to run. Look how she had to change her way of thinking. She went on to 2 more Olympics. She plans to make the 2022 Winter Olympics in bobsledding, not in hurdling, in bobsledding. So she had to adapt. And she's saying of herself, I am a 3-time losing Olympian, but I'm still in the battle. She's not going away, folks. Keep an eye on her. Look at another one. Of course, you've probably heard of the struggles that Simone Biles is having in the current Olympics. Just in the last week, I've been listening to what the newscasts are saying. And, you know, they have said that even though she's gotten 32 Olympic and World Championship medals, she's one of the greatest and most dominant figures in gymnastics. She does artistic gymnastics. And yet she is having trouble too. She has had trouble. And she's working through them. She had to withdraw from the all-around gymnastic final because of stress mental stress and what she called the twisties, which is evidently a lack of air awareness. Can you imagine someone who is twisting around in the air and can't find her way to figure out where the floor is? That's what a twisty is. And I just give anyone so much credit that does gymnastics, because I couldn't do any of that. But then she needed to work with herself in a different way. What she did is she got her coach involved. She went to a private gym in Tokyo and she practiced. And I'm sure she had to work on that self-esteem and that resilience. And she came back to win a bronze. How can she be that resilient after coming through that? She must have felt the embarrassment that you would feel from that. But also, how do you pool that resource again, that inner resource? So these Olympians have done it. I'm sure other Olympians have done it too. And we're learning more and more about the struggles that they go through as they share, and we listen to the Olympics as they go through. But how can we get resilient like that? How can we define resilience for ourselves? Let's look at that. From the time we're little, from the time we're a toddler, we fall, but we get back up, okay? And we don't think that much of it. We get back up and we do it again. But as an adult, it can be different. As an adult, we can have that performance anxiety that says, oh my gosh, I made a mistake. I don't know what I'm doing. How can I get back to square one? One of my nightmares at night is performance anxiety. A lot of us have fear of failure, fear of failing, fear of making a mistake, fear of being made a fool of, and people laughing at us. How many of us have that? So the fear of failure can either paralyze us and we decide to do nothing about it and sink deeper and deeper in depression and anxiety, or fear can motivate. I remember hearing an interview from the actor Robert Mitchum, and he was asked, "How did you achieve success? What was your secret?" And he said, "The fear of failure. I didn't want to fail, so I pushed myself until I was performing well." Look at that. No, I never really liked Robert Mitchum as an actor, but I love what he said, because that is so important for all of us to remember, that it can motivate us. It doesn't have to paralyze us. And so making mistakes is going to happen. We're all going to fail. None of us is perfect. We're all imperfect. And so can we look at mistakes as stepping stones instead? Stepping stones to resilience. Make stepping stones of stumbling blocks. We're all going to stumble. So kind of crossing out the shame involved. There's no shame that needs to be there. It's about picking yourself up and doing it again. Getting back on the horse, adapting to whatever is your stumbling block. Or maybe you've got lots of stumbling blocks, but you can manage those over time. So how do you define resilience? Well, different people do it differently. So I'm going to give you some options to think about. I think of it as bouncing back. And it's also about adaptability. How flexible and adaptable are you to change, to stress in your life? Can you learn to grow from challenges, thinking of challenges as opportunities to grow? They're opportunities to grow. Opportunities to grow and learn from your mistakes, from stumbling blocks. That can help you. That can help anybody. And so I looked for different ways of looking at different themes, different variables. These are adapted from Molly Burkholm, who's a specialist in trauma. She's a teacher and coach. And so I think these are wonderful. They're not all inclusive, but they have a lot to them. So let's look at them individually. What are your core values? What do you believe in? Have you ever just sat down and really thought, what do I believe in? These are my priorities. What's your purpose in life? If you have a purpose in life, it's so important. I can't tell you how many times I have done therapy with people and I've asked them, what is your purpose in life? And they've said, I don't know. I don't think I have one. And I've encouraged them to find it. And I encourage people to find 3. What are your top 3 reasons to live, to go forward, to be resilient? And then there's meaning in adversity. Well, Simone Biles has found it. She said, I now know that I'm more than gymnastics. Gymnastics doesn't have to define me. When I had my cancer and I was recovering, I found a new way to look at everyday life because life became more precious to me. I was so glad that I was still alive and I could still be here for my family. It was a wonderful new reaction to the same life I'd been living before, but I had a different way of looking at it. Okay. The third one, mental calm and control. How can you get calm and relaxed in your life? What do you need to do? What do you need to put into your daily regimen? How about yoga, meditation, prayer, some sort of relaxation so that can help you to feel better about your life, to feel more relaxed. Control of your emotions. In other words, not to be so steeped in anger and resentment and bitterness about whatever it is that you might be angry about in life. And so you might want to look at one of my other webinars about calming the anger within and how to work on calming yourself in a positive way. And so you can address that and have mastery of your emotions and feel better about yourself. And that can lead into self-care. What do you do for your self-care? Some people get so involved in their everyday life, whatever they're doing, whether it's work or kids or whatever, they forget about helping themselves to enjoy life and to be healthy. So are you working on how you relax before sleep and getting enough sleep? Are you working on exercise so you help your body and your brain? Are you working on your nutrition? What are you doing for your own self-care? Are you working on healthy coping skills instead of non-healthy ones? Cut out your smoking. Cut out your addictions. Cut out overeating. Whatever it is that makes you want to do something that's not healthy for yourself, to try to cope with life and the stresses and the strains and the depression and whatever else you're going through. And then to find a sense of self-esteem that's very positive and balanced. In other words, if you've had a low self-esteem and don't believe in yourself, maybe you need to work on affirmations and helping yourself, kind of cheerleading yourself. But maybe if you have too much pride, you might want to work on the virtue of humility. Support and connection is so important in life, whether that's with family, friends, neighborhood, whatever it is that, you feel connected, you feel like you've got a support system that cares about you, okay, and has got your back, basically. And 8, being proactive about your world, okay? All you can do is work on your world, your sense of what you can do about the world. We can't do everything to change the world the way we want to, but what are we doing? Can we be proactive? Yes, we can, not passive. So these are just some themes to think about. And then there's some more variables that are adapted here from Martin Seligman, who is the father of positive psychology. I just love positive psychology because it helps us to reframe what we're thinking of into more positive. Okay, so let's look at different variables in resilience that they have researched. And so sometimes it's biology. Sometimes it seems like some people just have the natural instinct almost of getting back on the horse and doing what they need to do, and resilience doesn't seem to be a real problem for them. And so is it temperament? Is it genetics? What is it? Okay. And so some of these are the same as before. I'm not going to go over those. Mental agility. I'm going to spend a minute on that. This is how you can work to tweak your brain chemistry. Are you willing to flex and adapt to what you might need to do, what you might need to bring to the table? And so you can make new brain paths. Isn't that exciting? The plasticity of the brain can give us hope. Can you work on helping your brain to think of new solutions, think of new options? Always have options in front of you. It can always give you hope. If you don't have options, you don't have hope. And so if you run out of options, look in a different direction. Find that way of having some mental muscle. You can exercise your mental muscle. I just love that term too. Optimism. How important that is, because they found that people who are optimistic have a longer lifespan. They have less heart attacks, less strokes. They have more well-being. They feel better about life. Of course, I want you to be realistically optimistic, but more optimistic than pessimistic is going to help you and help all those around you want to be around you. Self-efficacy. That means how much do you believe that you can overcome trials in your life? Can you bring your talents? Can you bring whatever you need to overcome those hurdles in your life? Positive spirituality. And so whether that means, you know, as an American Indian, maybe you look at the elements in the earth and you work with the earth's resources the best you can. Whether that means that you work with AA and you work with a higher power and you work on your 12 steps and you find hope in a higher being. Whether you're Christian, I happen to be Christian, and so I work on being more Christ-like and encourage other people to be that way too. And that is an important piece in my life that helps give me that hope and that resilience that says, I don't have to just depend on myself. And I'm not sure if it was St. Augustine or what saint it was, but somebody said to act as if everything depends on you and pray as if everything depends on God. And whether you're a Christian or not, is that a motto that you could take on? I think it gives us hope. I think it gives us hope in something higher than ourselves that can help us to feel more resilient because we know our faults. We know that we can fail. We know that we stumble all the time. But can we look at the stepping stones instead of the stumbling blocks and try to work on one step at a time? Sometimes that's hard enough, right? And sometimes you're going to fall off. Sometimes you're going to stumble and you're going to get your face wet. But work through that fear you have and work toward those other variables that can help you get that resilience. And there's barriers to overcome. We can look at those in therapy, and we can look at all of these barriers, even the lack of physical health, because that can lead to depression, stress, anxiety, fear that can paralyze. negativity instead of positivity. It can lead to lack of a feeling of safety and security, which nobody needs. Nobody needs. And so as we work on our physical health and our physical well-being, so that we can stretch to find those options to overcome these barriers. How do we overcome these barriers? Some of the barriers are difficult in overcoming, but we can work on them internally and both externally too. And one is knowing your inner strengths and virtues. We're going to be talking about that in a minute. And using those to your benefit. To set goals in your life, specific, measurable, realistic, and deadline goals, because that's going to release a positive hormone in your brain and in your whole system called dopamine. That's that one that will give us that feeling of, yay, I've got some hope because I've got some goal. I'm going to try it. I'm going to do my best. But that dopamine is just so powerful, but you need to keep setting goals. What if 2 weeks after you set a goal, you flub it up? Okay, start again, try it again. If that goal didn't work, try another one. Modify it a little bit. Use your brain chemistry, modify. Use those skills that you already have and maybe make some new skills. Can you work on your relaxation skills that we just talked about? Can you work on kind of helping yourself calm down with breathing skills, diaphragmatic deep breathing, square breathing? I encourage you to work on those skills as well as exercise. Exercise is going to give you another hormone, those endorphins that help you feel better about life. And then learning new skills, like I've been trying to learn Italian for a long time. I'm still working on it, not doing too well. And so I still keep trying, and I'm trying to have new courses that I'm learning. I think so much brain chemistry is about finding those new pathways, finding those new ways to think, and finding that mental muscle and exercising that mental muscle in your brain. And do you have the motivation to persevere? I found that you need enough motivation to adapt to problems in life. What is your motivation? You need to find it. If that motivation is not to lose a loved one, if that motivation is to be a better person, a better Christian, if that motivation is to just find a way to overcome those barriers, that's okay. Find your motivation, but it needs to be enough to motivate you, not paralyze you. Okay? And then there's those external builders such as support and encouragement, which everybody needs. I don't think anybody can get enough encouragement. And that releases oxytocin in the brain. It's that love hormone. We feel loved, we feel supported. And the more we feel loved and supported, we can give more love and support. And then there's feeling safe. Maslow said it's one of those building blocks, those hierarchies that you need to establish in your life in order to find success in your life. Safety, whether that's in your environment outside, in your neighborhood, or in your family, or just in yourself. You need to find ways to be safe and feel safe. How important that is. And so here is what I was talking about before. If you go to this website, theviacharacter.org, you're going to be able to find all kinds of different assessments that you can take. It's called the classification of character strengths and virtues that I recommend that everybody take to find those strengths that you have, to find the virtues that you can bank on in hard times. Look at all these. They're all wonderful. And maybe you have a smattering of a little bit of all of them, which is wonderful. Maybe you don't. That's okay. You can keep working on them. And look under virtue of transcendence. There's the one, gratitude. I've got a 5-star. They found that if you have that gratitude in you every day, that you're working on that gratitude, maybe that attitude of gratitude, that's one of the most positive predictors of well-being that they found. And they found that through all kinds of testing with people. And this is through the positive psychology, through Marty Seligman. How wonderful to be able at the end of the day to find 3 blessings in your life, 3 things that you can say that you're grateful for. And sometimes it might be like right now when it's so hot outside, you're grateful for having air conditioning. If you don't have air conditioning, you've got a fan. Can you be grateful for one person in your life that is maybe your rock, maybe that's your mentor, maybe that's your cheerleader. Okay? Find things to be grateful for. All of these are wonderful, and I found my top 5 by doing this assessment. I'd really encourage you to find your top 5, because those are the top 5 that you can bank on when things get tough in your life. And as you work on some of these other ones that are also very helpful in life, to bring that resilience to you can be so powerful in your life. And so the journey of resilience, it's unique to everybody. Everybody's path is different. You may not even be able to see the end. You don't really know maybe what you're aiming for. Just like here, you don't really see very well the end of, where they're on the other bank. But if you take one step at a time, and if it's okay if you stumble, knowing you're imperfect and being okay with being imperfect. Us perfectionists, we need to work on the fact that we can't be perfect, but we can strive to be better. We can strive to keep working on that resilience because it's so helpful. There's more variables that Marty Seligman was talking about. He talked about grit, and I think about the John Wayne film, but it's not quite that. It is the talent, the passion, and the perseverance you bring to your resilience. You bring those 5 special talents, your more talents that you've got, and you bring your passion, your motivation, and you bring that attitude of I'm gonna get in there and I'm gonna work on this. So it's a determination of not giving up. It's having that courage, pooling your self-esteem and pooling your courage and saying, I am gonna do this. I am gonna try this. Even if I fail, I'm gonna try. And so you're forward thinking. That is so important in having hope and resilience. You're thinking about the future. You're not thinking necessarily about right now. You're taking right now, but right now maybe you're just doing that first step. That's okay. The first step can lead to the second, which can lead to the third, which can lead on. And somewhere if you need to take a little detour, and maybe you've got several paths that you're working on, that's okay. Keep working, keep finding that hope. Let's look at another famous person from the past. Thomas Edison, famous inventor. Everybody thinks he invented the electric light bulb, but he actually didn't. He improved it, and he improved the microphone for our telephones today, but he actually invented the phonograph, the motion picture camera. What would we do without movies? And over 1,000 US patents, but more in the foreign markets. And he was self-educated. He took one course, I understand, and that's it. But he was so famous, so determined to succeed and to work through difficulties. And he worked for years and years in his research laboratory. He actually founded the first industrial research laboratory based on the scientific method. You have a hypothesis, you work it through, you try to find evidence. And if that doesn't work, you start with another hypothesis and you try again. That doesn't work, you try again. And he said, I am not discouraged because every wrong attempt discarded is another step forward. He had hope. He was looking at stepping stones instead of failure. Okay? He faced a lot of failure, but he kept trying, he kept working. And that's how he worked with his research team. Keep working on it. And so life is a bunch of ups and downs, like a roller coaster. It's got twists and turns. And sometimes you feel like you're going upside down. Resilience can be the same way. Sometimes you feel like you've got it. Sometimes you feel like you've lost it. Sometimes it feels like it's going into lots of twists and turns you didn't expect. But if you can find those stepping stones to get back on your feet and out of the twisties, out of the turns that are confusing and sometimes scary, find your way into that resilience at the end. Who's your role model? Somebody who has gone through lots of adversity in their life. I'm hoping that you can find somebody, either in your personal life or somebody famous that you've heard of. Even Abe Lincoln, I understand, battled depression, severe depression. His wife also had mental illness. And yet, look at what he accomplished. Who's your role model? Find a role model. Find several role models. I've got several in my life. And I've shared with you several of those as I've gone through different webinars. It's so important to have that person in your life that you say, I'm going to be like that person. That person gives me hope that I don't have to lose my hope. I can keep trying. And I want you to look at your past. Ever since you were a toddler, there's probably been times when you've come back from having problems. I don't know of anybody in life that hasn't had any problems. For some people, they feel like their life has been a lot of problems. For some people, they feel like, no, it's been pretty good. I had a good childhood and haven't had many problems. I've got, a good job and I have money and have a place to live and a person that cares about me. But nobody has it perfect. What have you done in your life to recover from anything that you've found that's been adverse in your life? Trauma, little or big, or problems? What were the reasons that made you resilient? Was it, like I said, was it that you just didn't want to lose somebody in your life? Was it that you didn't want to fail? Was it you didn't want to go to jail again? What is it that gave you that motivation? What specific actions did you take? You need to identify, what actions did I take? What did I do back there that helped me? I need to remember. Maybe that would help me again. What were the specific cognitions that you told yourself? What coping thoughts? And I always encourage people to have coping thoughts. What did you tell yourself? I can do this. Were you kind of like the little engine that could? I'm going to get back and I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. 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 I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. Or was it somebody else that believed in you? They believe in me. Maybe I need to believe in myself. Where did you put your trust in? Who did you put your trust in? Maybe you can put your trust in that person again. Maybe you need to put your trust somewhere else. Maybe you just need to trust yourself because you become very self-reliant, and that's okay. But then you need to pool all your resources together. Find those strengths that you have because you've got them. You've got strengths. Everybody's got them. What do you have faith in? Do you have faith in a higher power, in God? Maybe just in yourself, or that spouse, that partner, that family member. Maybe it's in a doctor or nurse that is bringing you through all kinds of chronic problems or acute problems in your life. Find things and people to have faith in And I love this quote from Martin Luther King Jr. We must accept the finite disappointments in life, but we must never lose infinite hope. Infinite hope. To have hope infinitely. Otherwise, we fall down into depression. It's never good, never positive to fall into that dark hole. So find that faith. So where do you start? I would encourage you to start, first of all, with your grateful list. If you haven't got one, start one. Because people who come to me in therapy, that's where I encourage them to start. Where is your grateful list? What can you be grateful for today? That you've got life today? That you can start again today? That you have a person that cares about you? That you have a roof over your head? What are your strengths and virtues that you're going to be kind of pooling together to help you and be some of that building block for you that you can stand on? And then faith, whether it's in yourself or in God. Where's that motivation? What can you do to motivate yourself? Do you have a cheerleader that helps you when you get down? What is your purpose in life? Have you found that purpose in life? Find your purpose in life, because that's so important, to find your purpose, to find your courage, to find whatever is going to help you work through that stumbling block, and to have that positive spirit in you of realistic optimism. I'm going to be realistic, but I'm going to be optimistic. That's going to be helpful. And so we've talked a lot about different variables, different themes in resilience, different definitions. You're going to need to define it for yourself. I hope that you have found some tools that can help you work through your own resilience and work through adversity. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I just thank you for being with me. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having hope in yourself and in life. Take care.